Summing all up, what would be your expectations overall for the ACC heading into 2024-2025 season?
Yeah, I've been pretty outspoken that I haven't been the highest on the ACC for the last 4 or 5 years. I would say the last really good year they had was 2018-19, when Florida State was great, Virginia Tech was great, Duke was great, Carolina wasn't as good. But you had 6 or 7 teams who were really, really good. And since then, yeah, you've had a couple here and there. Like obviously Duke and Carolina met in the Final Four a couple years ago, and that's kind of helped overshadow some of the deficiencies they've had in the conference. Because for a while there, Georgia Tech wasn't very good. Florida State's been bad the last couple of seasons. Boston College hasn't been good in 8 years whenever they had Jerome Robinson. Syracuse hasn't been to the level that we expected when Syracuse joined the conference about a decade ago. Notre Dame's been really bad the last few years. And the new additions, which we haven't really talked about, the new additions to the ACC with Stanford, Cal, and SMU, there's not really much to expect out of Stanford and Cal. SMU, I should have mentioned SMU in the wild cards because SMU has money to burn. That is a very rich school. They paid a lot of money to bring in Andy Enfield from USC. And, for them to forego all TV rights to say, no, we just want to be in the ACC, they're going to put their money where their mouth is. And I wouldn't be surprised at all to see them jump in that conversation. But still, I think there's 6 or 7 teams in the ACC this year that just aren't going to be at the same level as some of these other teams. I think the middle of the pack is going to be a little bit weaker, and especially when you look at a conference like the Big 12. I mean, the Big 12 is going to be fantastic for the foreseeable future with Kansas, with Baylor, with BYU. That's going to be a very, very good conference for a long time. And I think the ACC's got to step up in basketball. For the longest time, they were the basketball powerhouse with Duke, with Carolina, with Wake Forest when they had Tim Duncan and Chris Paul and Al-Farouq Aminu and all these other guys. And everyone thought when they brought in Syracuse and Notre Dame that they were going to continue to elevate to that level, and some of these programs just haven't lived up to it yet. Louisville should also be in that conversation as a team that just hasn't lived up to their standard the last few years. And it's kind of a turnover period for a lot of these teams. Louisville will be good in a couple of seasons. I'm a huge fan of their new coach, Pat Kelsey, who came over from Charleston. We played him when he was at Winthrop, I want to say my first year with the team, and I was super impressed with his organization and what he was doing with that team and just how he leads that team. He's going to have Louisville good, if not this year, in the very near future. But as far as this season, I just don't know if the top-end talent's there to compete with the Big 12 and potentially the Big 10.
Yeah.
How bad do you want it? Can you feel it in your veins? Blood, sweat, and tears. You get stronger.